Hello, everyone. I'm Cecilia Maida. I'm the founder of Paws Across America in all 50 states. That's how most of you know me. We focus on trying to get animal welfare friendly legislators into office to, in turn, be able to help the animals as far as the plight of animal cruelty across this nation. We started Paws Across America in a very unbiased fashion, not allowing slandering or endorsement of candidates. And we had Republicans and Democrats, equally represented in the group. So therefore, I've remained, very faithful to being non-biased, etc., until toward the end of the election, where I had to become honest with people and start letting them know that they needed to go to the Humane Society Legislative Fund scorecard at www.hslf.org. And/or they were going to be voting in candidates that were going to be voting against animals, which traditionally was the Republican Party. I got called baby killers. I got all kinds of names, all just because I made that statement. And I just want to let you know that's part of the problem is with the animals is that polarized hate that comes if you just state you're one party or the other. And the animals don't have a party. They just are sitting in cages and they're being abused. They're being lit on fire, thrown out car windows. They're being they're being sold for research. Everything's happening to them, and they don't have a party. They don't really care. But I was just trying to always advise people of what we were finding in our research, that traditionally the animal welfare candidates were the Democrats and not the Republicans. Anyway, I got called every name in the book and you name it, but I didn't really care because for the animals, I was willing to have that happen. So anyway, we were encouraging people to vote for Bernie Sanders was animal welfare friendly. He was gone. Then we encouraged people to vote for Hillary Clinton because she was the last animal welfare candidate standing. And then boom, that didn't work out. So now we have Donald Trump. And on top of that, it's even 10 times worse than what we could have even conceived of, because now Donald Trump has a totally Republican controlled House, Senate, White House, and his key cabinet people that he has put into place. This is the perfect storm of the worst case scenario of what we could have ever dreamed could have happened to animal welfare. Big organizations, all of them, uh, any animal welfare, they're doing SOS alerts. The incoming Trump representation, they're ready for war because of the fact that it's going to be so horrifying what's getting ready to happen to animals now that Trump has been elected and the cabinet he's put into place. And when you say that, you go, oh, who are you to say that? Well, I just want to let people know that, for instance, he has key players out of Iowa that he has put into his cabinet, and they're big lobbyists of the ag gag bills. And everybody knows what the ag gag bills are. That's making and criminalizing me and you if we try and are whistleblowers to report the animal cruelty. And so I don't have to explain that to you. It was originally called the King's Amendment, which Senator Steve King of Iowa was the leader of all that. So Iowa's kind of ground zero for the big ag and all these people. But anyway, he's got some key people. Those are his key go-to people. He just put the governor of Iowa into a key position there. But anyway, there are other issues that took place, and I'm going to be voicing my opinion on many issues here. Just kind of how I feel about what's happening with the cabinet. First of all, animal welfare, bad news. Now that we have a Republican controlled House, Senate, and President, and he's putting in big ag gag people in, this is almost like Armageddon for animals in slow motion, and it's very terrifying. So we're going to have to impulse across America. We're going to need more people to get involved and do rallies in every state across this country. We're going to need letters written. We're going to need to contact our representatives with a vigilance that we never, ever dreamed we'd have to do before, because of the fact that now Donald Trump and his anti-animal cabinet and Senate and House are all in. This is our worst case outcome that we never dreamed could even happen, but it did. And it's not about Republicans versus Democrats. This is about how they vote on animal welfare. And if you will educate and go to www.hslf.org and see their voting patterns, you will see that it is the Republicans with the scores of 0s to 11 to 22 all the way across the board, with the exceptions of a once in a blue moon Republican with 100. And it's exactly the opposite. The Democrats have scores of 100 and the great numbers. And the thing is that, in Georgia, you don't have any Democrats. You got two. Okay, and then you wonder why you have problems with the animals in Georgia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, moving on. Now, I'm also born and raised in the South, down in Texas. I moved out to California in 1984. I grew up during the very tense racial times down in the South. I was actually raised to be a racist, to be just point blank honest, down in Beaumont, Texas, down in Southeast Texas down there. And I was going to school during desegregation. I remember when the blacks would riot, and they would throw Molotov cocktails and burn my father's store. I remember when they'd be outside breaking the windows, etc. And I grew up during this time frame, and I remember when the buses rolled in and they during desegregations, and the uh, people were getting stabbed in the bathrooms and everything. The worst case scenario of our the terror and fear that we had. I was just one of them because I'd been raised to be that way. But I had the luxury of meeting a wonderful woman named Ruby, a black woman, in the bathroom one day. Instead of getting beat up, I stood my ground up against her, and she respected me because I stood up to her, and we became very dear friends, me and Ruby. And she said she was the leader of the black folk in my school, and from that day on, all the black people at my school loved me and treated me so kindly, and then all the white people hated me. So I know racism well. My hometown is right down the street from Jasper, where they drug a black man behind a truck, just because he was black. And but the whole country didn't turn against me because some white supremacist person drug a black person behind a truck in Jasper, which was a horrible, horrible atrocity to any human. But now we live in a society to where some Muslims have come and they have you know we've had 9/11. They've gone and shot up a gay club in Orlando. They've gone down in different places in California. We've got some bad people that have done something, but now we're targeting an entire race of Muslims. And now we've elected a president who has a vice president, Mike Pence, who is actually known for, he believes that you can electrocute people to stop them from being gay. Use shock treatment to stop them from being gay. Imagine this. I mean, this is 2016, and it's now legal for people to be married when they're gay. And this guy, as our vice president, thinks that you need to give them shock treatment to stop them from being gay because he is so against it. He also is the same man who tried to federally defund Planned Parenthood in all 50 states across the United States of America, where we know that took place in Texas before Ted Cruz was trying to run. That was Governor Rick Perry and Ted Cruz. They shut down the Planned Parenthoods to make it look good for we're the state that's going to stop abortion. And anyway, but all that accomplished was that during the time when Ted Cruz was running for president, over 100,000 women had attempted to self-abort, and they had no safe place to go do that. So therefore, how many women were dying? And now they're also wondering why they have an uptick of an epidemic of teen pregnancies in Texas. Well, that your first clue might have been you closed all the Planned Parenthoods, because Planned Parenthood is not just a baby killer place. They actually provide a lot of vital services for women that are poor, like pap smears, etc. And cancer screenings, and young girls go get their birth control so that they don't get pregnant, so that there isn't a person wanting to have an abortion. So anyway, you've created the worst case scenario. You have all these teenage girls running around Texas now pregnant, wanting abortions. So good going Texas for closing down Planned Parenthood, because they can't even get them opened up again because they had to sell the buildings, etc. And so they've set women in Texas back to the 1960s. And just so everybody's clear, in 1969, they passed Roe v. Wade. It was not to legalize abortion. It was to protect the poor women that were dying trying to have abortions because they did not have a safe place to go. They were using clothes hangers, going to backroom butchers, drinking Drano, jumping off of two-story buildings. For all you younger women who are not aware of this, it is not an endorsement of abortion. It is just to protect the poor women who cannot get on airplanes and fly out of the country to go get an abortion. I do not support abortion. I do not think abortion is great, but I think that it is a woman's right to make her own choice, and a family and their healthcare provider to make these decisions. For instance, I look healthy. You think I can have a baby, but guess what? I can't have a baby because my polycystic kidneys are so huge that I can't carry a baby. So I had to have my tubes tied. But if I live somewhere where doctors don't know my disease. If I would have gotten pregnant, they would have forced me to have it. And the federal government needs to just stay out of these kind of decisions. And you can call me a baby killer, whatever you like, but those are my opinions. And I will never, ever set women back to a place where their lives are endangered because they do not have a safe place to go if they feel the need that they must abort a pregnancy. That is a moral choice between a woman and her own family and her own God. And it is not for us to put our judgment upon others. And then next we move on to where back to the racism issue. Senator Sessions of Alabama is from Selma, Alabama, and he has been appointed by Trump to be the head of the Department of Justice. And just so everybody understands, if you don't remember your history, Selma, Alabama, if that name rings a bell at all, it might, because that was the most famous town in America for the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King, they walked across the bridge to Selma, Alabama, and it was like where the fight for civil liberties and took place, you know, to stop the blacks from being suppressed. And I want to make it clear to any person that out there that is an Afro-American, I was raised in Beaumont, Texas to be a racist, but I love black people. They did not get a racist out of me. So for every person that they tell you out there that's white, that hates black people, you remember me, because I'm looking you in the face today. And if you are a black woman or you're a black man, then I love you. If you are a Muslim, I love you. If you are gay, lesbian, transgender, anybody, I love you. So no matter what they can say on Fox News, what they can say about anything, that there are people like me out there. We were raised to be racist. I left and came to California, a melting pot of people from around the world, and learned that what I had learned in Texas in the South was wrong. And they did not get a racist out of me. They did not win. I beat them because I'm not a racist. I love every human, and I'm just very sickened by the fact I left Texas to get away from the horrifying racism that I grew up with. And I moved to California in 1984. 35 years ago, I was excited, to know that there were places like this existed, and I'd left Texas behind. But now they're moving white supremacists into my White House, and I can't run from my country. And when I say that, Jeff Sessions, he is a senator of Selma, Alabama, and they have placed him into the White House, and he is a known white supremacist. And if you'll notice toward the end of the rallies and everything, there, a lot of times they had Donald Trump in Selma, Alabama. And this is what they do when they want to target the people that basically, are like white supremacists and don't like black people, that didn't like the fact that they had a black president to begin with. But anyway, when you have presidents spending a lot of time in Selma, Alabama, that's usually they're targeting, trying to get the white vote is what they call that. So anyway, so now we have Sessions in there. And then we have now Bannon. Bannon comes in. So who's Bannon? Bannon, we know, ran the Breitbart channel, which is the right-wing, alt-right conspiracy channel, everything Clinton, every conspiracy known to man and God, they'll make up anything, the Clinton sex ring, which has now been debunked because the guy went over there and tried to shoot and kill people, and then they showed that was a definite hoax. But anyway, and they thrive on these kind of sensationalism things and making up everything they can about this Clintons. They dedicate their life to it. Anyway, so now he's funded by a man named Mercer, who's a billionaire, who's kind of the mystery guy. He never comes out in public. Nobody knows much about him, but he's kind of cuckoo. Anyway, big rich. Anyway, but Bannon's TV station was funded by him, and then the Kellyanne Conway chick that came out of nowhere as the campaign manager that can spin anything. She could sell your own shirt off your back because she lies so well to cover for all Trump's deficiencies. She tries to make them look good. So I guess they probably have a really good position they're going to try and put her into for all that lying and turn her back on all the women of America, going for Trump whenever they're trying to overturn Roe v. Wade, etc. Anyway, she's pretty disgusting. Most people agree with that one. But anyway, so she's over here spinning all these lies and everything while they have Bannon in there. But mind you, have to keep in mind, the company she was working for was also funded by Mercer. So her and Bannon appear at the same time. If you see they're real cozy, I don't know, they got a little thing going on there as far as I'm concerned. That's why she's still even in the picture. She's not out it because she was just a campaign manager. She still keeps to be running the show. You've got Bannon and Kellyanne running the show, Mercer. So it looks like, that Trump's kind of like the puppet of the, Bannon, Mercer, like gang here, because he's not taking intelligence briefings. He's got Pence here. Oh, Pence, by the way, the vice president who thinks that, gays need to use electrotherapy to not be gay, and that he wanted to defund all Planned Parenthoods in all 50 states across the United States of America. He's tried to do it numerous times. So now he's the vice president. And if they do what they did to Texas, we're going to have women all over the country being set back to 1969. They're going to be dying, trying to have abortions. They have nowhere to go. We'll have pregnant teenagers everywhere. We'll have no place for the poor women to go to get their birth control, to get pap smears. because they're acting like Planned Parenthood is just a baby killing machine, because that's how ignorant these people are. And I hate to say it, but most of this is all spread on Fox News. I wouldn't watch Fox News if my life depended on it. And that probably right there, they're going to go, oop, I'm going to block her. Feel free. Because if you're living your life watching Fox News, then you probably should block me. Because I don't share anything in common with that station at all. I educate myself. I don't believe the lies that are spread on the station that tells you your president's coming to get your guns for the past 8 years. And did they ever come? No, they didn't. That's because they conned you so that you would go empty the shelves and buy every gun so that you could make these people filthy, filthy rich billionaires by buying guns, making you think your president's coming to get them. Are you realizing the little marketing con that you fell for now? You still got your guns. Obama never got them. Then they were trying to say Hillary's coming for them, trying to get you to go buy more guns, but it's kind of getting to be a little bit harder for them to do that. Y'all guys might be getting a little bit wiser to it, but I don't know. Y'all seem to kind of believe all this stuff you watch on Fox News, so maybe a hard sell to ever convince you that anything they say isn't true. But anyway, and then moving on, now we've got Sessions in there, okay, who's from Selma, Alabama, the most famous racial town everywhere, head of the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice, which oversees any kind of civil rights issues. That's scary enough in itself. And then now you have Bannon in there. You know, that's like the alt-right people. That's his second in command to the United States. And it's also, we know Trump is not doing anything. Pence is running the show. So we got the, like, you know, guy who doesn't like gay people. And he doesn't want Planned Parenthood to exist. He's our vice president. He's going to be kind of running the show here when this all gets into it. Because Trump's not going to do anything. He's out there doing his pep rallies. Love me, don't hate me, I'm going to do another rally. Oh, our election is already over, but let's go do some more rallies. Does anybody know who's paying for these rallies, by the way? And by the way, does anybody know that it's costing $2 million a day for him to stay in New York and guard him in a high-rise next to Central Park, you know what I mean, where anybody can walk into the building because of the fact that's why it's so expensive. When there's a transition place in Washington that he gets to go to, but I guess that's probably like slumming it for him because they don't have like marble counters and, you know, gold faucets and stuff. Not good enough for him to stay in, so let's cost New York City $2 million a day so I can stay in my little cozy townhouse over here up in New York. That's all beside the point. Let you make your own judgment call on that. But now we've got Bannon, we've got Sessions, and then he spent his whole primary talking about Hillary Clinton, and she did that speech for Goldman Sachs. Show us the transcripts. Show us the transcripts. Show us the transcripts. What did you say to Goldman Sachs? What did you promise them, Hillary? What did you promise? The whole primary. Oh, now he's appointed now 5 Goldman Sachs people to his cabinet. He's just filling the place with the Goldman Sachs people that he condemned Hillary Clinton because she gave one speech and got paid for it. Are you starting to see that you got conned here, Trump voters? You know what I mean? If you aren't seeing the writing on the wall yet, you know, you might want to open your eyes and watch something else other than Fox News, and so you can actually see that, you know, you've been conned. And anyway, so now you have Sessions, you have Bannon, and you have you have your Goldman Sachs people coming in. And who else? Oh, Exxon. We can't forget Exxon. We've got Tillerman's Secretary of State. He's letting him become the Secretary of State. But I don't know if everybody's aware of the fact that he actually, and you can Google everything I'm telling you. This is easy to find. It's not on Fox News. It's not CNN. You can find these facts for yourself. It doesn't have to be a TV station. You can actually do research. But Exxon has pending deals with Russia to drill oil that would be billions and billions and billions of dollars. But they can't do that because of the sanctions that Obama put on them. So they put the Exxon guy in charge of the Secretary of State who can lift the sanctions off of Russia. So what that equals is drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. And while all this is going on, we've got the Dakota Pipeline going on. You saw the stand of tens of thousands of people that stood up wanting to stop the Dakota Pipeline from endangering the drinking water of millions of people, not just the Standing Rock people. And we learned about how there's pipelines crisscrossing all over North Dakota. While they're over there standing there freezing, trying to being assaulted and violated by the police department who are attacking the protesters versus turning around and facing their cameras at the pipeline who's actually disobeying the court order that they're not supposed to be drilling. They're behind them drilling, but they're, you know, over here shooting rubber bullets and concussion grenades and spraying water on them in 28-degree weather, you know, creating hypothermia, almost killing all these people. because they're doing a peaceful protest. But and that's the police department, by the way. And they were doing all that to protect the big oil company. And at first, you remember when they had all those states come in, they called it like a natural disaster. Like, when Ferguson was going on and the Black Lives Matter people, they supposedly were going to be so crazy. So they came in riot gear, which they weren't even doing it. That was a little bit of overreaction to even Black Lives Matter. This is what people tend to do. But, it was in a big city where a lot of people needed to be protected. So, they didn't know what Black Lives Matter was doing, even though they weren't doing that. But, they still kind of came in and were geared up in case it did happen. But they can't say that in Standing Rock. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere, in no man's land. So there was no one to protect. All it was an attack on the peaceful protesters who were out there in the middle of nowhere. And then while the pipeline behind them was ignoring a court order. Oh, but this is because of the fact that the Governor Dalrymple was involved in all this. Oh, and then the guy who was running against him, he's a billionaire too. And he's over here, he has a lot to, benefit. Oh, and Donald Trump is going to make $2 million off just that one pipeline. And I talked to the campaign manager of the Democrat that was running against Dalrymple, the totally corrupt governor. And anyway, and we discussed in detail that Donald Trump is going to make millions off every pipeline that's coming into Dakota. And he's also going to revive Keystone. He's going to do all this. And this was before we even thought he was going to win. This was before he had a motivation to even tell me any of this. And I talked to other individuals that confirmed all this. So now we're looking at, we have a president who stands to make a lot of money off any pipeline that goes in this country. He has stock in Trans Energy that, is over there doing the drilling of the Dakota pipeline. And they start saying, oh, everybody, I sold all my stock in June. Oh, well, yeah, right. As if we're going to believe that, Trump. I mean, who'd you sell it to? Your children? Just like you're going to pass over all your interest over your children, you know what I mean? You're supposed to divest yourself of all of your riches when you become a president, not give it to your kids and, just pass the buck to make it look like you're not going to. You're going to make billions off of being the president. We know this. And you've set up your cabinet just showing that. You got Goldman Sachs, you got Exxon, you got all the big players in there. And basically what this is, guys, is if you really pay attention to what's been happening here, Citizens United was a lawsuit that everybody's aware of. That they went out so that they wanted to limit the amount of money that could go into a campaign so they could not purchase the White House. That lawsuit won and went all the way to the Supreme Court, and it was not overturned. They let it stand. We consider that to be one that both bipartisan, Republican and Democrats consider that to be one of the biggest, worst decisions the Supreme Court ever made, and they felt that the Supreme Court was now biased in favor of the corporations, and it was like leaning more Republican versus Democrat, etc. That's neither here nor there, but both sides agreed that the Supreme Court had made a horrible judgment in allowing Citizens United to stand because you could buy elections. So that was bad enough. Then they had the lawsuit about voter suppression coming in, and then that lawsuit won. They took it all to the Supreme Court. And again, oh my God, the Supreme Court did it again. They actually allowed the voter suppression law to stand. So now this is the very first election that we have actually had with Citizens United in place and the voter suppression. And you go, what does a voter suppression mean? And you go, let's give an example. You have 38,000 Afro-Americans. And this voter suppression bill, what that allowed them to do, and this was the Republicans, not the Democrats. This was to benefit the Republicans, filed this lawsuit and allowed this to stand. They went and redistrict, and they moved it all around to where it was more beneficial for them to get Republicans in office because they had been out of office for 8 years. They were desperate. So they go and they do this redistricting everywhere. So let's say you got 38,000 Afro-Americans, they're in 2 different districts. So now they went and redistricted it, and they squeezed all 38,000 into one district. So now this district may be allotted, like 60 voting places on election day, and this one maybe allow it 60 or whatever. So now you have 120 normally, but that's, it's split up. You got 15,000 over here, 15 over 1,000 over here. Oh, but now you have 38,000 over here, but you're only going to get, like whatever, 60 or 20. But this is what they do. And so now you have 10, 12, 8-hour waits for people to even vote. And then you have a few little computer glitches in there like they had in North Carolina, for a couple hours, and people have to leave and go back to work. And the only way to really fix this, they need to call Election Day a national holiday to where they cannot do this. And if you have to wait in line for 12 hours because the Republicans want to try and jerry-rig it and do redistricting and trying to suppress the black vote, then so be it. If that's the way they're going to play ball up there, then make that day a holiday so that, they can stand in line for 12 hours and we don't lose our right to vote. And then now that we know that there is proof that the CIA states that the Russians did hack, but the president's saying, oh no, that's just a con. You know what I mean? That's just, the Green Party, they're scammers. You know what I mean? Like, get over it. I won. I won by a landslide. But he didn't win by a landslide. He literally did not. He did not. Like, he's like the 12th worst win, in the whole United States of America as far as electoral. Reagan got 500 something. Lots of them got 500 something, 400. He's like way down there. He's the 12th from the worst. So he's like the 48th best. It's like, that. But he's telling all his voters, I won by a landslide. Don't listen to them. That's why he's doing these rallies, to con everybody, to make them believe all this stuff before Inauguration Day, because he knows there's going to be millions of people protesting the day after, and he wants you guys to go out there and believe all his lies and go out and protest against him and believe these cons he's trying to put on you, that he won by a landslide. He didn't. Hillary Clinton now is 2.8 million votes more for the popular vote. Okay? And so he did not win by any kind of landslide. So don't let him con you on that, Trump voters, if you've believed all that, and especially if you're an animal lover. But I just wanted to kind of talk to people about the big picture of what's going on here, as far as how I see this with the Trump. And so, as far as I'm concerned, right now we have allowed a white supremacist into our White House. I can run from Texas, but I can't run from my government. He's talked about he wants to do away with the EPA and the Endangered Species Act, which if he does away with the Endangered Species Act, then that will stop any hunter out there they will be able to kill anything that moves. That's the only thing that protects us from not having species go extinct. We've worked on this for decades, and this man just wants to do away with it so they can sport hunt anything they want. EPA, it's common knowledge. He wants the EPA gone so he could drill, baby, drill. So he just appointed a guy and put him in charge. And I don't have all the names handy in my head, but he put him in charge. He's the guy from Oklahoma, the Oklahoma guy. Puts him in charge. He's literally sued numerous times trying to do away with the EPA. So he puts a guy who's trying to do away with the EPA in charge of the EPA. Oh, but guess what? If the EPA goes away, guess what? There's no sanctions on Russia so that Exxon can go drill, baby, drill. And Exxon is Secretary of State. Are you guys starting to see how this is all working? He went in to every rally and said, I'm here for the working man. I'm here for you. I'm not going to let big corporations, and we're going to drill Hillary we want her transcript of that speech that she gave to Goldman Sachs. But hey, don't worry about it. I got about 5 or 6 of them in my cabinet, but that's different. That's not like what Hillary did. That's not what Hillary did. You guys are being conned on the biggest scam of a lifetime. I don't even know if Donald Trump even has the capacity to tell the truth. He's saying he doesn't believe what the CIA says. He doesn't believe what the FBI says, and unless it's and he says he doesn't even need intelligence briefings when things like the Dakota pipeline are going on. China's over here circling the Red Sea with nuclear bombs because they're pissed off because he took a call from Taiwan, which is the biggest no-no on the planet. You know what I mean? China's pissed off now. I mean, we'll be lucky if we don't get nuked by the time we get to the inauguration with this guy here. But people aren't, paying attention to anything but their polarized views. And, he keeps doing these crazy, like, childish rallies. Like, have you not newsflash, Trump? The election's over. And even though, the Russians kind of hacked in there and helped you get it, you know what I mean, with a few computer glitches here and there. And, you said, oh, well, you can't always catch hackers in the act. Well, they did. I tweeted that to you, by the way, just so you know, I did tweet that to you. So you should have that too. So you can't tell that lie again. But you'll read it and you'll lie again. We know because that's what you do. And but America's starting to see this. And Donald Trump doesn't like the fact when people don't worship him and love him. So he's not doing anything. He doesn't have time to do anything except for hold more pep rallies and like say, love me, love me, love me. And that's great and everything. So anyway, I just want to go over all these things with you and how this affects animal welfare and how this affects humans. And then lastly, on the list of all, everybody knows I have polycystic kidney disease. It's genetic kidney disease. I traveled the country as a poster child for. I was in Family Circle, Jane Magazine, had my PSA for TV, radio, etc. I am now at the end of my battle. My kidneys are failing. I am being rejected across the board for lack of financial resources because I do not have a supplemental insurance policy that I cannot afford because it's almost $750 a month because of the penalties from the George Bush era when I did not take the drug program because there are no pills and I've been being penalized for 15 years. So I got almost a couple of $100 a month I got to throw on top of that. just because of the George Bush penalties when I did not get the drug program because I don't have any drugs. There's still no pills for polycystic kidney disease. But anyway, so everybody's aware of my situation. And so basically I've been sentenced to death in essence because I do refuse dialysis. I'm not going to live on a machine when I have kidneys waiting, and I choose quality versus quantity. That is my choice. And so I am the face of a person. So when you say get rid of Obamacare, with Obamacare gone, I can't get a supplemental policy because it would be considered pre-existing. So in essence, you've even seen me probably post videos when the election came out. I was very distraught to know that there were people out there that were supporting me, that were actually voting for Trump. And if they took away Obamacare, then it was going to sentence me to death. And I was taking this very personally because it is my life. Maybe when you guys talk about you're not ill and it's just something you talk about, but for me, it's my life. And I'm at the end of it, and I need Obamacare to live. And so I beg of anybody out there to understand that when you say do away with Obamacare, it's wrong, and it's just like that you need to understand and there's a face, there's a person, there's a human on the other side that relies on that to live. And I'm one of them, the founder of Paws Across America. And anyway, I don't know if I've clarified a lot of the things people have asked me, to explain some of this, but the bottom line is that Donald Trump has lined his cabinet with white supremacist, anti-animal, anti-environment, anti-global warming, everything. He doesn't believe the science on it. It's beyond comprehension that we're in 2016 and that this is even happening in our country. And I don't really know if there are even words to explain how I feel, other than I wish I could move to another country. If I had the financial resources, I would, just because I don't want to see what's getting ready to happen to the animals of this country because Donald Trump is in office. And everybody knows I have a strong empathy, for any animals, because of the fact that he's only for profit-making ventures, and we all know the animals, and then the profit-making ventures, that means the puppy mills, research, etc. And then he will be for those kind of things, but not for the animals. And anyway, so right now there's a lot of petitions out there. They have some circulating to repeal the Electoral College, because last time we had this happen was with George Bush, and we ended up with him, and we saw that, that ended up with a war in Iraq and a lot of issues there. I won't even get into all that because that gets into the whole political bias thing. But, the popular vote was not won by George Bush, and he was our president. Now we have, again, same situation. The popular vote was not won by Donald Trump, but he is our president. But he is not your typical normal president. This man is a very dangerous, narcissistic megalomaniac that only has self-interest involved. He stands to make billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars by drilling and opening up every pipeline and endangering the water supply and the environment across this country by having these pipelines, the Keystones, the Dakotas, all over the place. Right now, while they're over there at Standing Rock, they've got a pipeline over there busted, and like 7 miles of a creek have already filled with oil right down the road from Standing Rock while they're protesting. Oh, but shh. And they found out there's been thousands of them in Dakota, and they're not talking about it because they didn't want to overwhelm everybody with talking about all that. Oh, because they wouldn't